Hey, Ari Goldkind, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you, Todd Shapiro and Jay Brody? And by the way, I know how to play fish.
Oh, really?
You gonna fish?
52 pickup. Hold'em's fun. You should check it out. Ari and I had a pre-talk today about things we were going to discuss on the program today, and this was not one of them at all because Ari's only on episode 2 of Making a Murderer.
Yeah, I can't believe this is going to happen now. But go ahead.
And then we arranged a call with a gentleman who's still on the phone, Dave Bogata, who's been giving us like 45 minutes of his time. Super nice of the guy. He's with his wife, Sandra. And I saw this story online, and I'm like, this is stuff that could change an entire case, the things he's talking about. And I was giving him advice as a radio host. I'm like, why the fuck am I giving him advice? We have a criminal defense lawyer.
So is this turning into one of my normal media appearances now where I'm going to be serious?
Well, yeah, you got to hear his story.
Can I do a rant? Can I say 2 things before we get into this?
Yeah, Dave, you're still on the phone. Dave, can you hear us?
Should I put the headphones on?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you got to put the headphones on, Ari. Dave, hang on. Ari Goldkind just got to get some stuff off his
chest. Are you there,
chest.
Dave?
I can hear you.
Okay, so just bear with me. 2 seconds. First, this might have come up yesterday. Todd, you took a long-deserved break, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
So I just wanted to talk about your party for 30 seconds. You okay with that?
I would love it.
So I went to Todd's party. Todd doesn't know I was going to say this.
No idea.
So I have to tell you, you booked this big, huge room, and you have a lot of listeners. I know you do. And I was worried, and I wanted to go. I'm not a partier anymore. I'm old now. I'm 41. I like being with my dog. Your listeners know that, right? But Todd's like, you got to come. I took my tickets, blah, blah, blah. So I went to go because I was like, I didn't want the room to be empty, right? So I think every one person counts. So Todd rents this big, huge place. I walk in, it's packed. It's got so many of your fans, so many people who are loyal to you. I was so impressed by the night that you put on there the other night. There were so many people there. It was strange to have your fans and your listeners come up to me. I kept thinking I was in trouble for something, and I told you when I saw you, all these people keep coming up to me and saying nice things, which I'm not all that used to all the time. But anyway, the room was packed. It was a great party. People were so happy with it, and it took a lot of...
Dude, it sucked the life out of me for 2 years. I'm not a party planner.
I know, and I was going to use a different word, but it took a lot out of you to do that.
Yeah.
And to see that party be so full and all sorts of different walks of life. I mean, you and I had mutual friends there. There were people there that I would never know or never go for tea and crumpets with, and it was really, really impressive. Jay did a great job. So I just wanted to say, when somebody steps up and puts something like that on, and in a huge room, if the room looks empty, it rubs off badly on the person who threw the party. It couldn't have been more the opposite for you. So to all your listeners who showed up and came on a cold, not lovely night, it really says something about their affection for you that so many people turned out.
Thank you.
Rant number 1 over. I haven't gotten to number 2 yet.
Okay, well, and before you do, though, and Dave, still hang on there, bud.
It's about Dave now.
Okay, but I will say it gives me a good opportunity to thank Budweiser and Bacardi, because without Budweiser and without Bacardi, and then Baum was there, and Carnivore was there, and, Subway was there, and Pizza, everyone was there. Everyone was there. But without Bacardi and Budweiser, I couldn't have done that. And Bud Music was so great to us, and I'll tell you, man, it was really neat. You said it. All walks of life, and I think that's a great testament, Jay, to what we're doing here, is that we're the common man. We don't try and cater to one person. We open up our doors to everyone, and that's the way we lead our lives. My friends are all different religions and races and obviously sexes, but
at least 2 of them.
It was at least the 2 sexes, and it was really rewarding. As anxious as I was, and as much as it was a real hard thing to go and put together. After a couple days of reflecting on it when I was on vacation, I thought, man, that kicked ass. We're going to do another one in June.
Well, so, I mean, I didn't say it I don't know if your previous guest said something or people yesterday said something. I just thought something should be said.
Not really, thank you.
You had so many people loyal and fond of you who showed up, and this is a city that has 9 million things to do every night, 17 Christmas parties. I was really impressed, and we have a mutual friend, and we were both very impressed.
Who's that? Bro, was Brett impressed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know. If you impressed, well, Brett's on the show from time to time.
Right, but I just thought I would tell you that.
Okay.
That's it. Okay, rant number 2.
Yes.
So I can't believe, and this is Dave on the phone, and Todd knows how I feel about this, because I hate the fact that we live in a society where if I don't binge watch a show 14 and a half seconds after it comes on, or I don't see Star Wars on Thursday, December 17th at 11:45, I have have to go onto my stupid, antisocial, stupid Twitter, Twatter, Facebook, and every secret is coming out from every wannabe critic who says, I don't like the fact of Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. And now I told you on the phone this morning, because we are friends, I do not want to know how this show that I'm one episode into, how to make a murderer, one episode in that I watch on my own leisure time, because I watch an hour at a time, and then I watch other things, and Jay knows I watch wrestling, and then I go to movies. I do not binge watch. I'm not watching I'm not watching Breaking Bad in 47 hours in one day. And Todd says, you're coming on, and we're going to spoil it for you because the guy needs help. So I hope, Dave.
Well, originally we had all these other things
have 20
to talk
other
about.
topics,
Donald
and
Trump.
I could talk about Trump all day, so that's my favorite. But I understand now that the next 14 hours of my viewing pleasure when I'm on my couch with my dog are now going to be blown. Because my one rule is no spoilers is about to be blown. Rant over, I'm done.
We're going to spoil one case for you, just like you've spoiled probably 100 for the Crown over the years.
That was a good save. That was a good save. That's a fist bump. That was good. I like the way that mind works.
And the thing is this, most people when they watch the show, they know the end result. It's the process of how that end result gets there that is still... You can never duplicate that through stories or social media posts. You need to watch it and be that furious as you are.
Well, you and I have talked about this before privately and on your show, that what I do every day, I mean, I just left court 2-3 hours ago. Reality, real things that happen with real police. There's a case happening right now. It's that famous shooting in Toronto where the closing submissions are going. It's 30 times more interesting than 3 of the top movies about law and courtrooms that you've ever seen. You can't make this stuff up. So I'm on episode 1 about where he's framed for rape because of Gregory Allen. Yep. That's where I am. That got me screaming at my TV, but I see that every day with cops and prosecutors. Now, my rant is over. The show is your show. But I had to say that to those of us who really watch TV as if we're 41 years old and not 20 years old binge watching. I just don't.
We don't have the time. You don't have the time to spend 14 hours in front of TV.
Right, and I don't want to. My legs get cramped.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense to me. Dave Bagat, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to try and do without giving too much away to Ari, or we're probably going to end up ruining it all. Dave potentially, and I think I can do it without saying the evidence or stuff.
Yeah.
Dave saw something that could sway a case. Okay?
Yep.
And Dave, at the time, wrote a letter.
This case or a case?
This case.
Okay, just so you know, because I'm cold to this. So for everybody listening to this,
but,
I don't know where we're going.
No,
here.
exactly.
Okay.
But I'm not going to tell you what he saw or what it could sway or whatever.
Fine.
I'm going to use generalities.
Yep.
If Dave saw something that could change the outcome of a case, and a letter and a phone call to the police back in the day didn't do anything, is there like a statute of limitations on this stuff? Can he go and Dave's on the phone? Can he still go?
Not for murder. There's no statute of limitations for murder, fresh evidence. I mean, that's a term that I think people know what that means. Fresh evidence, new evidence. And in fact, I'll just go with what I saw. So obviously your listeners who have watched this, in episode, I think it was 2, because I watched last night not knowing we were going to talk about this, a cop from that... not Manitowoc, it was the other place where Gregory Allen was in jail for a rape that he did after the Manitowoc one. He called up a policeman in Manitowoc. Is that how you pronounce it? Manitowoc. In Manitowoc, and said, well, wait a minute. We have a guy in jail saying that he did a crime that another man in your county is in jail with.
Reminded me of Shawshank Redemption, by the way.
That's the greatest movie ever.
That happened to Andy Dufresne.
No, but that's the greatest movie ever. But this is just episode 2 where I am, and then I literally went to bed, is that the police officer who the other police officer told, and good for the other police officer, he said, wait a minute, I have a guy in my jail cell in my county lockup who says he did a crime that one of your guys is doing. Nobody in Manitowoc County so much as even made a report.
Oh, wait.
So this ties into your question.
Yes, it does. And keep watching it, because every day you're going to throw something new at your TV screen. It gets that much more frustrating per episode. Dave saw something. What can he do now? If this was ignored, is it his duty to do something if he really believes this too?
Well, that's a great question. So there's a difference in law, and this, again, being very plain spoken, there is no legal duty. Nobody can force Dave to come forward to say something. But my view, and this is the reason why our world and our laws are so effed up, is because people forget we have moral duties. And so I would say there is a moral duty to come forward, no legal duty. There just isn't a legal duty to do so. But to your question, if I were him in the state, and you're talking about this case, you're saying,
Yes.
right? For me, he should contact a lawyer, because this case is now so big and so under the microscope, with so many powerful people, with so many people in positions of power looking at it. He really should have his version or whatever he sees, and I don't know what it is, and I don't even need you to tell me.
Yeah, I don't need it. That's what I thought.
Right.
And Dave's here.
He should have it vetted, and you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, of course.
By somebody who does what I do for a living, rather than.
Is that going to cost him, though?
No, I don't. Where does he live?
Dave,
he's
you
on the
live in-
phone. Where do you live, Dave?
Yeah.
Sorry. Is he still here?
I'm in Texas right now.
Okay, so he's in Texas. So I can. I'm not going to make a Texas joke. Jay and I probably have 50. We're nodding at each other. But if you look at a billboard as you're driving on it's not I-95, but there's probably 10 lawyers billboards there. Call one of them that looks honest, and there's no way they're going to charge you, because the media spotlight of this case is so huge. It's like, a lot of your listeners will know who Gloria Allred is, and she's the lawyer for all of the Bill Cosby complainants. If you call her and say, I've got some information on Bill Cosby, she's not going to send you a bill. She wants the media attention. So I would suggest, first step, given the world that he's now entering into, this is a big case. It's all over the world now. You're talking about it with me, is he should just contact somebody, go in for a half an hour, and make a record that he's let somebody know.
Hey, Dave, is that something you think you want to do?
Yeah, I'll do it, man. I thought about that, but what do you do when you're targeted by Satanists and these people that are in this club go all the way up to state level representatives?
So this was another part of the story.
Okay,
Ari, and
'cause I was
this
just
has
gonna say,
nothing-
is this-
so this has nothing
okay.
to do with making a murder.
Okay.
You don't see any of this. What you do
Okay.
see in making a murder is you say you think there's a group of people protecting each other. That's pretty
Okay.
obvious. So what Dave is saying now is he was pretty much offered to become a part of a club where there was gay sex, with a lot of city officials, with a lot of different teachers, a lot of officials within Manitowoc, that seemed like its own little secret society. Dave turned it down, didn't want to be a part of this. Dave's manager at his bar that he owned, called Dave's Dungeon.
Well, that has a little bit of a Pulp Fiction basement quality to
Yes,
it.
doesn't it? Was also offered to come a part of this club. She didn't want a part of it, and then she was actually found dead one day too. Like a different, no case, no nothing. It was just no autopsy. It's just another weird twist to what was going on in this town. I think Dave's a bit frightened. Dave, are you a bit scared because of all this? Is that part of it?
Well, I don't know if I'm scared. I'm concerned, and of course, there's people in the area that I care about, and that still live in Wisconsin, and I really want the whole thing investigated. That's why I was contacting the Department of Justice and the FBI. I mean, how can they not be interested in this?
Yeah, but that
Even
comes
without-
just to go
even
back to
without
my
me.
point quickly. The FBI or the Department of Justice. Again, I don't know what we're talking about. I have no idea. But my point is that you will get a lot further if you're genuinely wanting to help, or you're genuinely telling the truth. Is if you, it's not that the word lawyer isn't used in Texas. An attorney, they're advancing what you're saying on your behalf. You'll get a lot more credibility. You'll get taken more seriously. I don't think this is something you should do on your own. There's just no point to doing it on your own, and you will find a good representative to do it, and no, it will not cost you money in a case that has this much media spotlight. I mean, there are lawyers that would be tripping all over themselves to do this, if what you're saying is genuine. And given that I'm in a vacuum, I'm taking you at your word.
Okay.
Are there a lot of gay sex clubs in the law fields, Ari?
I hope so. I don't think there's enough sex in any field, and I think whether it's gay, straight, transgender, lesbian,
Satanists.
I can't comment on that because I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
But I just think there should be more sex clubs, and
Right.
I think they exist, and they shouldn't just all be on Queen Street in Toronto called Wicked or Oasis. And I think if more people were having sex, we'd have a much more peaceful world.
Yeah, we might.
But I digress.
Yes. Well, Dave, I mean, listen, I think it's good.
But I did like Jay's question because
Yes.
it invited a subject that is near and dear to my
Yeah,
heart.
there we go.
Dave, I will say I appreciate your time, what you and Sandra have been through, and again, I like giving people the benefit of the doubt here, and I think you really have some stuff that should be shared with some attorneys and maybe brought to the forefront as opposed to just radio shows and websites.
Look,
and
if
things.
Dave, if Dave waits maybe a week until I finish this show, can I have a week to finish this show? Dave can email me. And I'll listen to him and see what he has to say. But I would like to actually
Dave,
watch the show.
We're in touch through Facebook, Dave Bagata. I'll get you Ari Goldkind, who's one of the top criminal defense lawyers here in the city of Toronto, which is the 4th or 5th biggest city in North America. So he knows what he's doing. If you want any more advice, I'll make sure that you two get in touch. How does that sound, Dave?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, well, keep looking over your shoulder, man, because you're you're saying some stuff that's pretty damning. But I do appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate your time, and this is the case that the world is talking about. And really, you might know some things that could help change it.
Okay, we didn't spoil it. Good, I can now watch it.
Yeah, we didn't really spoil it.
Chewbacca dies. Suck it, all right.
I saw that for the third time last night. If you want too much information, no. But I saw it for the third time last night for whatever that's worth.
That's
people
hilarious.
going, Ari went to see it 3. Yeah, I did.
Dave Bagata, if hopefully we can stay in touch, get you back on the program, and get some progress on what's going on with you and the Stephen A. Avery case.
Okay.
Okay, man. Thank you very much for your time, pal.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, cheers. Bye. What we'll do is we'll take a break now here on the program. It's brought to you by Pete's Pizza. We're going to come back and we're going to deal with the things that we said we were going to deal with, including, most importantly, I think we got to talk about Donald Trump some more.
Talk about whatever you want.
We will. Ari Goldkind, he's my favorite guest every single Tuesday at 5 p.m. He walks in here, usually about 5:06 when I open the door for him, but he's here on time all the time. We appreciate his time too. Thanks for hanging out with the Todd Shapiro Show. Hyper. Ari's asked if I'm sick. I'm not sick, man. I just don't sleep. We have a really hyper kid, but I was a really hyper kid.
That's why I was zipping it. I was like, apple, tree, fall, far.
What?
No, if you're hyper,
your
kid's got your genes.
Yeah.
So therefore,
my wife was
the apple
hyper
doesn't
too.
fall far from the tree.
Yes. Okay. My wife was like a super duper like athletic, like one was the top gymnast in Canada for one point. Yeah. She was like really hyper and didn't sleep. And the kids kind of like, we're just like, it's just like us. Like she worries sometimes. Like the kid's just nuts. He's hyper, kicking around.
But that's a kid.
He's a kid.
Right. It's like when everybody says their kid's ADD. No, he's a boy.
He's a boy. I'm ADHD.
No, but he's a boy. You're a boy.
I'm a boy.
With adult responsibilities.
And a man cock. Okay.
I did not say that.
How are you, Ari?
I'm excellent. That was a good first segment, boys.
Yeah, dude, you're great. I'm so happy that people came up to you at the Christmas party. And
yeah,
just,
when
like,
I told you
chilling.
that night, it was very surprising. I had really nice cops coming up to me, putting their arm on my shoulder, and I'm all like, "Oh shit!" They're obvious because I'm very critical of police. 97% of the time.
Yeah.
And they were so complimentary. They're like, "You're the only one who tells it like it is. You don't pull punches. You don't do this. You look at every issue." But like, I at least had 5 conversations. And one lovely guy invited me to go to the wrestling the other night, but I wasn't there. So Jay and I talked about that.
Who was that? Robert? No.
No, I'm not going to say his name, but he was just lovely. He's like, "You want to hang out with me and my friends?" I'm like, "Oh, sure."
Did you go to the wrestling?
No, because I was up north, but I would have gone if I didn't go.
Was wrestling in Toronto?
Yeah, in Toronto.
Raw was in Toronto?
No, not the televised one, but the big stars.
Come on.
So they do what's called a house show. But they fill the
Jay,
Rico
did you go?
No, it was sold out for weeks.
9,000 people sold out instantly.
Yeah.
Robert couldn't got you tickets?
No, not for this event. Well, he could have got me tickets, but I didn't go to him for this event. I'm going to the one in March, coming out in March.
For $9 million with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar's going to be in town in March, so I got to go check
What
that out.
day in March?
It's actually on my birthday, the 12th. So
Todd.
I'm not going to be here.
He's just told you what he wants his birthday gift to be.
Boom. No,
Okay. I'm not. We might not be in town.
Oh, the 12th.
We're doing our show in LA for a month.
I love that. Good for you guys.
If you can come up, yeah. So more details to come with that. We're going to LA for. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's looking.
If you stay at the Chateau Marmont, I'm going to come.
I can't afford the Chateau.
I said, if you're staying at the Chateau, I'll come bum.
You know who stayed at the
bum on the
Chateau
couch.
Marmont? I don't know if I'm. Yeah, I don't give a shit now. It doesn't matter. It was because we went to Jeff Goldblum's wedding.
I know it's the most amazing.
And that's actually where their wedding was.
It's an amazing place.
Wow.
It really is. I've been there. When I was there, I was like, this is a different universe.
We hiked up a beautiful mountaintop,
right.
and Jeff Goldblum gave the most amazing 40-minute speech before marrying his lovely bride.
His lovely young bride.
Yes, wow. And it was like, and I thought to myself, who would ever have thought that they would be watching Jeff Goldblum give the best monologue of his life, not on stage?
He's a charismatic guy.
Oh, he's the king. He is the king. And Independence Day 2 is going to he's the main star in that. Will Smith ain't even back.
Can't wait for that movie.
Okay, and Jeff's like the whole trailer.
Thank goodness. He was the best part of the first one.
Although I did see Will Smith's new movie. It was very good the other night.
Concussion.
And it's a very important subject that people should take far more seriously. But I digress.
Okay.
What do we want to talk about, Todd Shapiro?
This guy, have a listen here.
Hold on. Do I need the headphones?
Yeah,
sure
you do.
do.
You always wear the headphones.
Okay.
This guy right here.
Politics is
Oh,
hard.
I got to. Why?
and
That-
it is
that's not a guy.
something that is not.
That's not a guy.
Hillary keeps popping up on the computer there.
This guy right here.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
The politicians can pretend it's something else, but Donald Trump calls it radical Islamic terrorism. That's why he's calling for a temporary shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until we can figure out what's going on. He'll quickly cut the head off ISIS and take their oil. And he'll stop illegal immigration by building a wall on our southern border that Mexico will pay for.
We will make America great again.
Make it great.
You're laughing at that. You're spellbound by that. I even know that from earlier.
This is TV ad going on right now.
You thought it looked fake.
I thought it was like an Onion, you know, the Onion newspaper. I
like
thought
the Beaverton, yeah.
I thought it was like the Saturday Night Live sketch. Turns out this is real. Does this shock you?
No,
No.
not at all.
It doesn't shock. Here, I want to play one thing for you. It doesn't shock you when someone says this in a TV ad for the next potential president of the United States of America.
Oh, that's a different question.
Hang on. This part, though, I'm going to play you one thing that really stands out. Not even the statements about what they're saying.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
The politicians can pretend it's something else, but Donald Trump calls it radical Islamic terrorism. That's why he's calling for a temporary shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until we can figure out what's going on.
The part that cracks me up the most, until we can figure out what's going on.
But you know where that's from, right?
No.
Oh, so okay, let's put some context to
Yeah.
that. So that ad uses the exact same language as his press release, which he came out with, I guess now it's about a month and a half ago, where people thought he was signing his death warrant for the Republican nomination. But as soon as he said that, he skyrocketed up higher while they all went lower. So just so you know, because I didn't know what you were.
Yeah, I'm just laughing
It's
because
the
like
exact language until we find
like
out
dinner
what the
tonight.
heck
My
is
wife
going on.
asked what's for dinner. I'm like, well, figure it out. Like you
Right.
don't do it when you
Right.
don't say you figure it out with such a serious
Right,
problem.
but just before we get into
Yeah.
the deeper, that is literally the language from his press release.
Wow.
And by the way, to your reaction, when he put out the press release, people thought those were typos because no politician in history has come out, and as I've said this to you many times, said exactly what they're thinking. So the ad copies that language, so that's why you may.
See, I love when you're here. You clarified that
Sorry
for us. I just can't believe that this honesty and this outlandishness is continually making him skyrocket to leading the polls, and truly, this isn't a joke anymore, people.
Yeah.
He truly is, I would say, the favorite of becoming the next president of the United States. Would you agree with that?
No, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
And so this is not a nerdy kind of answer, but it's one that is worth remembering. If you like what he says, great. If you don't, fine. That's not the point of my answer. He may be the Republican nominee for president. I'm not even so sure that will happen, and it's for a very boring reason, is because he is not doing what's called a ground game in the States. In other words, the way primaries work, and I won't go into details,
go into
it's
details.
very boring.
Okay.
You have to go to all these what's called precincts and Iowa and state fairs, and you have to get all of these small little groups to show up. And I mean literally get in your pickup truck and show up if you're in Iowa or Kentucky or these states, and you actually go vote in these primaries. So when they do all these polls, and you know, Donald Trump will always talk about his polls, right? He says it
Every second
every
he can.
second of
Still
every day.
winning,
It's very different when pollsters call people up in Iowa and say, who would you vote for? Who would you vote for? Versus on the voting day starting in February, you have to get into your car or pickup truck and you have to go vote. His game, his ground game, I think people know what that means,
Yep.
is not organized the way, for example, Ted Cruz's ground game is. So Ted Cruz, I think, is a much more abominable, horrible candidate, my own personal view. But he has people on the ground in a very specific infrastructure going door to door, the way we think of in Canada, we use the word canvassing.
Yep.
So the ground game of his opponents, even Chris Christie, who I think is a buffoon and actually a liar, we can get into that on a different day, but he's got people on the ground. So Donald Trump is likely going to be the Republican nominee, and I hope he is, because I think that sets up sort of a Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, good, the dark side, the light side, which I think not just that country needs, the world needs, between the politics of what we pretend we are in our fantasy unicorn-like minds versus what the world really is. So I'm hoping he's the nominee. But to your question of will he be the next Republican president, there isn't a chance on, I don't believe in God, but God's green earth, because if you look at the numbers, and this is, again, not to be wonky, if you look at the percentage of minorities, women, non-white people in the States in a general election, even if 40% of the Republican base support him in a general election, this is important, in a general election, those numbers don't get you diddly squat. Now, the only way he becomes president is when people go to the ballot box on presidential election day. They vote with their conscience rather than this I love Hillary, I love Hillary. Nobody can ever explain why they love Hillary. If you go into a ballot box and something that Donald Trump has said resonates with you, that's the only way he's going to win votes, by getting people who you, me, Jay, anybody else would say aren't going to vote for him. For example, Muslims, for example, Mexicans, for example, black people, for example, women, because I think some of his comments about women have been far worse, because they're not true, than some of his other comments that he makes that are arguably true. So I don't think he'll be the president, but I'm very much hoping, and you can hear I'm passionate about this, that rather than have some babbling teleprompter reading, the world is beautiful, let's all get along and sing Kumbaya, let's have a fight between Democrats and Republicans with totally different worldviews, because the worldviews that we're hearing in this world now, and this is my personal politics, is, we have Justin Trudeau in sunny days where everything is sunny and great and diversity is our strength and we all love each other and we're all big one mosaic. That's horseshit. So I'd rather somebody be coming out and telling the truth, and at least by having the debate, and I've talked about this with other subjects, you cannot solve a problem.
Compromise.
That's right. But you cannot solve a problem without at least calling it out.
Yes. Yes.
And so that, to me, is the value that Trump brings.
Yes.
Agree with him or not. He calls it out.
Yes.
Let there be a debate.
Meet in the middle.
Right. Rather than the extreme far left saying, you can't talk about this. You can't talk about that. A white person can't talk about this. A Jewish person can't talk about that. Only
which the National Post touched on today.
And that's, to me, the greatest op-ed I've never written, which I'm jealous of.
Well, I posted it on. It's another topic. We won't get into it. But if you want to read this post. What do they call them? The
National Post.
National Post.
Op-ed by the former premier of British Columbia.
It essentially talks about how we're so afraid as white men. White men.
That's right.
Are afraid. Well, we in the room are afraid to say anything that might involve a comment on other race, because people will deem you as being a racist.
Right. And so the context of that, just for listeners to know, because this is the beauty of the piece, is he says this is why. And he doesn't come out and say it, Donald Trump resonates, because when you see any white politician, male or female, doesn't matter. This is the premier's own words, and his name is Uriel Dosan, so he's actually not a white man. I still don't think a white man could have actually written this op-ed without the world going nuts on him. But the point of his piece is, this is why every time you see a Hillary Clinton or a Bernie Sanders or any other white milquetoast politician, they speak in what's called non sequiturs. And they're reading from teleprompters, and they're saying nothing. They're literally like spam or vanilla. And then you see Donald Trump on CNN for an hour, and you're like, Jesus, I think this guy may be half crazy and half baked on.
But at least it's the way people will talk about in our living rooms. Honest.
And that is what I've said a million times to you, that there is no substitution. And I wish, because I had a little dabbling in politics, I would much rather have somebody in front of me that's authentic, that I disagree with, than somebody full of horse manure saying non sequiturs and beautiful phrases and sunny days
it's all
and sunny
bullshit.
ways that I know is bullshit. I would much rather disagree
Yeah,
with somebody
I agree with you
who I
100%.
think is leveling with me.
I could not agree with that statement more. When this ad ends, this Donald Trump ad, it's going to lead into what he talks about with Hillary Clinton and the view on ladies, because you found it interesting. You said that ladies maybe should have a reason not to like Trump. He kind of goes into that, but I got to play out this ad. So just hear the remaining of the Donald Trump TV ad and then hear what he says in response to Hillary Clinton.
Cut the head off ISIS and take their oil. And he'll stop illegal immigration by building a wall on our southern border that Mexico will pay for.
By the way, in the ad, those aren't Mexicans running across the border.
Yeah, it's from Morocco.
Yeah, that's also a bit of a misleading little picture there.
We will make America great again.
Okay, here's this new video that's going to come up in about 2-3 seconds. I really want Artie here. Put on your headphones.
On.
Because this is his take on what Hillary Clinton's saying. And he calls her on some pretty serious things.
Hillary, she came out with that. No. She came out, remember she wrote, she said, he's demonstrated a penchant. I demonstrated a penchant for sexism. Can you believe it? Me. Nobody respects women more than Donald Trump. That I can tell you. Nobody. And, when she said that, I had no choice because I didn't start it. I had no choice. And I did have to mention her husband's situation. Okay? And that is now the biggest story on television by a factor of 10. So we have to do it. You can't let people push you around. You can't let people tell lies. Can't do it. For the last week, she's been hitting me really hard with the women card, okay? Really hard. And I had to say, okay, that's enough. That's enough. And we did a strong number. She's not going to win. And by the way, I love the concept. I love having a woman president. Can't be her. She's horrible. She's horrible. And you know who really don't... I'll tell you who does not like... Yeah, we'll get Ivanka. Good. Let's do Ivanka.
I'll do Ivanka. Did he just say we could do Ivanka?
I think so.
I heard that. Hey, let's do Ivanka. Hang on.
But I'll tell you who doesn't like Hillary are women. Women don't like Hillary.
That's actually true.
I see it all the time.
This is what I wanted to play.
Okay.
And then she came out with the sexism, which is so nonsense. But she's playing that card. And then I had to hit her back. So I hit her back and I talked about her husband and the abuse of women and the tremendous abuse. No, it's tremendous abuse. I mean, you look at it, it's tremendous abuse. And I talked about that. And now, today, the television is going crazy. And she gets up, makes a speech that doesn't even mention anything about me with sexism or anything else. I wonder why. All
right, Goldkind, your thoughts on Donald Trump dealing with the Hillary Clinton situation there and women?
Yeah, so I have lots of thoughts on that because I think nobody seems to be speaking about the truth behind what he's talking about. So let's look at some of it, okay? First of all, listen to that in the context of what we were just talking about in terms of authenticity. He's engaging with his audience. He's listening to what they say as they come out and even blab or heckle or whatever. He's listening. He's engaged. There is something so appealing in that. I'm not talking about the substance of what he's saying. I'm going to get to that.
Yep.
And so you listen to and you watch the Republican debates where you see Marco Rubio saying the same line about being the son of a Cuban immigrant 42 times like he's got a teleprompter attached to his DNA, whereas you listen to Donald Trump and you hear how he's talking. And we'll go to the substance in 2 seconds, but he's listening to people. And then he says something that's very appealing to people. And this is my interest. Now let's get into my politics. People in the United States and in many provinces in Canada, whether it be Alberta, Ontario, where people, hardworking, good people, are getting hammered in this economy. Absolutely hammered. I believe the American dream is a complete myth.
Yep.
I believe it's horseshit unless your name is Mark Zuckerberg or you're some Silicon Valley person, and that happens 0.00000. Somebody who's working a normal job at a factory, a plant, a teacher, a nurse. There is no American dream, and this is the most pernicious myth ever. He is speaking to them. So when he says, if Hillary wants to say these things about me, I'm going to fight back. There is something very psychological that appeals to people that are being screwed.
It's amazing. As much as a bully as he has been and is.
Right, and I'm going to get to that for a
Just
second.
to come back and sort of take it. He's right. If she brought up that stuff that he's a sexist.
Correct.
Well, what about your fucking husband who banged an intern with a cigar?
Right, and to me, I have a different view of that as well, because at the end of the day, I don't think Monica Lewinsky is the victim that everybody paints her out to be. Like, I'm sorry, when you would get to an age of consent, the fact that, yes, there's powers dynamics and he's the president, that is an open conversation of harassment, but like, this wasn't rape. The way people are talking about back then, where Monica Lewinsky was horribly raped by Bill Clinton. I mean, that's too touchy a subject to spend too much time on. But let's go back to the women stuff. What I don't like that Donald Trump has said, because he's like an open id. You know, there's the superego, the ego, and the id. The id is where you're unfiltered, uncensored. You know, he says Megyn Kelly, the head of Fox News, who asked him a question, was being mean to him because she was on her period. Then he denies it. Okay, then he denies it and goes, I meant no blood coming out of her nose. Come on, at least own it. He said the same thing about Carly Fiorina. Would anybody vote for that face? Well, she's a 60-something-year-old woman, and she couldn't be better looking for a 67-year-old woman. It's like, by the way, let's go to Star Wars. Carrie Fisher, who's Princess Leia, for anybody who doesn't know Carrie Fisher's real name, she's been getting a lot of grief, and again, anti-social media. It's not social media, where people are criticizing her looks and how she's aged versus Harrison Ford's looks and how Carrie Fisher was Princess Leia in that bikini 40 years ago. The idea that she has to receive criticism 40 years later for aging like a normal woman, that's horse crap. But let's look at Donald Trump's history as a business person. It is indisputable amongst people outside and inside the Trump organization. And this matters, by the way, because somebody's track record matters. How they've lived their life for 40, 50 years in business matters. He is viewed, even by his opponents, as being more pro-women in his business. In his companies, he has promoted more women to positions of power, the executive level, CEO positions in all of his companies. This is back before it was in vogue, by the way. Before, if you didn't do it, you're enemy of the state. This is in the 70s and 80s. And he has had women, and this is not getting reported, but I think it's important, who disagree with every word coming out of his mouth when it comes to Muslims and Mexicans and China and trade. But
China!
But they all say,
That's how he says
but
it.
they all say the environment and culture in Trump for 40, 50 years has been women are equals. They're paid equally.
That's important.
And it's not talked about. So, yes, he says something stupid about Megyn Kelly and stupid comment. And I think his comments about Bill Clinton are stupid. I think they're below the belt, as many are. But
listen, if you're the president of the United States, though, you got to make a calculated decision not to have sexual relations with
I
your.
have different views on that,
I know, and I get the age of consent thing, and I get that she's a part of it, and I get that, but still, you're not going to say no to the president of the United States, and it's his duty not to take advantage or exploit that. Anyway, that's just my statement.
Fine,
on that.
we can have that conversation. I mean, look, my comments are more nuanced on that, and obviously a different thing. But when
and I think Trump. The one thing, and I've encountered people like Trump in my day, who are very, very forward and direct people. And on 90% of the time, they actually do look at everyone who work very hard and get to certain levels as equals. And those people can be of any religion, of any sex, of anything. There's something about a status more, about a protection more, and about a directness that I could see him condoning and approving of, which is women obviously as equals, but I think the it's not an elite level that need to be there in those conversations with them. I think it's a respect level of what you do and what you put in and how honest you are. That if you're just as honest with him, he would usually be okay with that no matter who you are. There could be a Muslim there in a debate with him just as direct and honest as what he's saying towards them is why they shouldn't be there. And if they put up a good argument of that say something, I think he would respect the conversation.
Not only that, so you've said something that I believe to my core. If he was there on the stage with a Muslim, he would double down on his rhetoric. And if the Muslim came back and said, here is some, I'm not going to call you this stupid word Islamophobe. I'm not going to call you this stupid word racist. I'm going to talk about some facts, some thoughts, some ideas of why I disagree with you. I guarantee you that Donald Trump would be so dumbfounded at that point. I don't mean dumb, but I think he'd be like, this man who I've just doubled down on, has engaged with me. We're now going mano a mano. That's the world that we need. There's a phrase called the marketplace of ideas. We do not have a marketplace of ideas anymore. We have a marketplace where you're only allowed to have one idea, and if you don't share those ideas, we're calling you a bunch of names. That ties into the op-ed you were referring to that your viewers can go to Facebook.
Yes,
and so
the one in the National Post.
That's right. And so the Donald Trump point is, people say when I talk about him, well, does that mean you agree with him? No, I've said on your show, half of the stuff he says is absolute horse crap, but he has the guts to say what he believes, and we have lost that in public life. I don't mean in troll life on the internet.
No, but that's funny.
I mean in public life.
I was just thinking about that. And I wonder if one day down the road, 30, 40 years from now, when they actually truly do some sort of psychological study on why people go to the internet to say such terrible and hateful things.
That they would never say to your face.
And I'm wondering if it's because we live in too much of a politically correct time face to face with one another. We're so afraid to be honest because of it. We're so hypersensitive. Well, and I always go back to this word. I don't have to be malicious to tell you something that I don't like about you if you're not the same person or come from the same background that I do. It doesn't mean I'm malicious. But maybe then what people are doing is they're holding up so much shit inside because they're so afraid to say things to people's faces that they're actually venting online, making up fake profiles, putting cartoon pictures up there, and actually lambasting people in a way just to get out some shit that they can't say in real life, even though it might not come from a really deep, dark place. It just goes deeper and darker in there because at that point, there's no accountability.
Well,
Does that kind of make sense?
Yes, and so let's use what you said, a deeper and darker place. So here, 3 points to that, and again, I think this is something we could talk about on a future show. We have a culture now, and I'll say 3 points about that culture and why people, I call them trolls, right? You have trolls, I have trolls. I don't respond to them because it's beneath me to do that. And nor should anybody, because when you engage with a troll, it's like, you like...
I call out the trolls. I always call out the trolls.
Right, and I'm in a position where I can't for certain reasons. But the point is, we live in a culture and in a world where there's a culture of victimization, where if you can paint yourself as a victim of anything, you get more spotlight. Rather than being somebody who fights for something, but it's
sorry to interrupt. The spotlight does not last long. It's a 15 minutes of spotlight.
So here's where, that's why you don't engage with trolls. But number two, we also have a lot of people who use anti-social media. I refuse to call it social media because they're angry inside. Their lives don't have purpose. Their lives don't have meaning. They have a lot of anger and frustration that things aren't going their way. So what's the easiest thing to do? Pile on to another human being. Even if I disagree with somebody, you and I have had huge disagreements. The last thing I would think is to make it personal or that I hate you as a man or because let me just say this. Because I hate something that you're saying, I'm going to devalue the entirety of who you are, a father, a husband, a guy I've known for 20 years, a kind man, a nice man, a good friend, all because I think you're completely wrong on Hillary Clinton and I'm going to call you a bunch of names. That's the world we live in. We tear people down. And
we had a nice conversation about that where Ari there was something I completely disagree with him in last year's show, the last show of last year that he was on. And I said to Ari, you're asinine. And that was more of a personal attack. And Ari brought that up to me and he goes, call my theory asinine. Don't look at me and say you're an asinine person. That was a bit of an attack, and I said, you know what, you make a good point. Like I apologize for that. And that came across a bit personal.
And to me, I should be able to sit with and I don't use this word literally, my biggest enemy, who I disagree with about everything. We should be able to sit in a room, have a camera on us if it's a real show, and go at it. And at the end of it, nobody's calling anybody the stupid R words, the stupid anti-Semitic words. I hate hearing anytime somebody says something about you, they're anti-Semitic. I'm Jewish. Cut it out. Argue the point. Leave the room. Shake hands as men or women. And I want to go back to the third point because I think this is important too, is the reason people do this. And I think it's a much bigger problem, and Twitter just tried to address it the other day as well, but they do a lousy job of it. There's no accountability. There's no accountability for the things that you say. You can say the most vicious things about another human being on social media.
There's no accountability online.
There's no accountability. And the other reason, because you can't sue them. It's too expensive to get a lawyer. It takes too long. Even if you have a case, it's impossible. So when you have no accountability, and this ties into, we've talked about police before, or all the violence that we see, if you can get away with something, chances are you're going to try to.
Do you see? I mean, maybe the solution's for another time because we only have a few minutes, but I think the important thing, and I always try and wrap this up carefully because I'm so afraid with the hypersensitivities of this world.
Yeah, because you're much nicer than me, so you're much more.
Listen, the fact is, I got sponsors.
No,
I don't
you're
want
a
to
nice
offend,
man.
and I'm not that nice.
I think you're nice.
I got some pretty dark thoughts of my own too, and I'm more skeptical than anything. I'm skeptical of this world. I'm cynical.
We'll
I don't
talk about
trust
that off
people.
air, not on air.
Well, this is like, I think the whole world, what's happening to Stephen A. Avery, I think happens to the common man.
If you want to talk about
jail.
that, it happens every day, everywhere.
There is a group that is leading this world that we still don't really know what this world is. But I guess my point is that we should be able to have direct conversations. People who are outspoken doesn't mean they're terrible human beings. They're just speaking their views. And I always come back to this, man, and it's like monotonous and almost boring at this fucking point. But it's that conversation piece that needs to be had, which Ari brings to our show and which Donald Trump brings to American politics. And I think that sometimes you need these types of people. Don't fear them. Hear them out and present a good argument back, because you're going to find that either you'll win that argument maybe one day, or you'll at least come to some sort of compromise. Same fucking story all the time with you, Ari. And I think that's an important message to give. Boomer's here. We have no more time on the show. We're going to stick around, though, and talk to you and play it on tomorrow's show, because you're here and we don't get you. So we're going to catch up with you. Sound good? We're going to run for the rest of it. We got 30 seconds, man. Thank you to everyone involved in the program. Ari Goldkind, thank you, at Ari Goldkind, and go and check him out on The Sun, canoe.ca. You still do National Post stuff,
Yep.
too? Yeah, just Google his name, Ari Goldkind. You'll see lots of great stuff with this guy. Thanks again for hanging out with the Todd Shapiro Show, brought to you by our very good friends over at pizzapizza.ca. We'll be back tomorrow with some very beautiful ladies from Femme Fatale and a great comedian from the Laugh Factory for the Laugh Factory 15. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, what's up? I'm Roddy. Subscribe to our channel. You're going to love it. For the rest of this episode, you got to check out our podcast online on the website. Go check it out. You won't be disappointed.